Hey everybody, my name's Gabe from Impressed by Sun. Today I'm here to teach you how to build a sandbox world one PC decision at a time. Because today I want to explain how do you build an open sandbox world that is layered and complex, but do it piece by piece as required. First, you have to follow a simple, repeatable pattern. Don't spend hundreds of hours thinking and writing before you start. Build only what is needed for that session and nothing more, and I'm going to teach you how to do that today. The key is to let PC decisions be your guide. Let's take some examples from my experience, and remember that these world building techniques will be done over weeks and months, not before one session. This is not a strategy to build a one-shot, and this strategy is to build a sustained sandbox campaign. Part 1, a global theme. Now, this is the DM's job to build a global theme, but to do so effectively, you have to understand your players, and that may take some time. So the key to a global theme is it doesn't have to be fleshed out before the first adventure. Some examples of global themes include good versus evil, nature versus civilization, law versus chaos, and everything else that you can imagine in that kind of global scale. To choose your themes, you need to know your players. I know that my players lean towards chaos, which they would call freedom, civilization, in most cases, and neutrality on the good and evil scale, although one of them strongly prefers good. At first, when I started this campaign world, all of these things were just vague concepts, because low-level characters aren't going to engage directly with big bads, but they can experience the consequences of their behavior. So, for example, on the second adventure, they encountered a flesh cult that was kidnapping and brainwashing local villagers and in bringing them into a cult where their flesh was being harvested for some purpose that they did not understand. The PCs weren't the only ones who didn't understand what the point of all that flesh gathering was. When I first wrote that adventure, I had no idea either. I was testing the waters to see how much this interested them and whether or not this would be something that could carry a campaign. In this case, it did. The PCs were very, very committed to seeking out and finding all other iterations of this flesh cult, and eventually it led them to a flesh mage beholder who was kidnapping people to provide a living flesh factory for his plane of horrors he was building in the abyss. But at the beginning, what we need is a specific location. And that, once again, is determined by the choices of the PCs. So part 2, local themes. After your adventure is launched, that's a different video altogether. That's its own animal there. Your characters will find themselves looking at an open world with infinite possibilities. Perhaps you've provided a map with a few simple cities here and there nearby where they are. What does the DM need to do at this stage? Do I need to build every city and come up with detailed concepts for everything? No, absolutely not. Think about what would the PCs themselves know about? What would their characters know? Remember, these are level 1, level 0 characters, or level 3 characters in some cases. They're not going to be familiar with a large swath of the world. They're only going to know a few locations, and that's a perfectly good reason for you to only give them a few locations to choose from at the beginning. So I want to take some examples here and sort of show you how I built this world from the beginning. When the players first found themselves wandering the wilderness with no direction, their characters knew about a few places, and here they are. First was a Mother Earth worshipping dwarf city with a connection to the dwarven character in the sense that he might be able to learn more about his past there. There was also a gnomish-run trade port with rich opportunities for money making, a bustling marketplace where things could be purchased, so some interest there. Remember that each one of these places needs to have some sort of reason for the PCs to go there. Otherwise, why are you doing this? So Another place would be a sprawling human trade kingdom run by wizards. I made that one further away because I envisioned that more of as a mid-level type setting, where they would be able to learn magic and make powerful friends. There's also an elven forest full of druids and ancient libraries, a spiritual place of special interest to the druidic character who might be able to learn more spells and meet influential and useful people. And of course, you should always on this list have a dungeon that they might have heard about somewhere, because characters, PCs, players like to have a dungeon, like to go loot, and none of these trade opportunities are going to mean anything if they don't have any money. So in this example, I created a water dungeon populated by scum, which happened to have which happened to grow special ingredients that were needed by another NPC for some health potions. So in that second adventure, after you've launched and they're wandering aimlessly, present these places as places that the PCs know about. Let them discuss and choose a place that they want to go. And then let that session be the travel, the road there, where the adventure is encountering danger along the way. Perhaps it links to one of your big bads, but either way, the adventure itself is not the location, but the road. And the unused concepts, so we developed 5 here. They only chose 1, let's say, the Dwarven City. The unused concepts can be recycled again and again and again until the PCs go there. And when the PCs do go to a location, that's when you move to part 3, local details. Part 3, local details. After the PCs choose a place they want to go, delay them with travel until you build that detailed locale. If you don't have time 1 week, then maybe that travel is a little longer than you thought. Building a detailed locale may sound hard, but it is not. Again, all you have to do is follow a few simple rules and you can do this. The concept you made in part 2 will be used, but you will need to add a few details to it. So let's say our characters go to the earth-worshipping dwarven village. I'm going to add some details like this village is full of stone sorcerers, clerics of Mother Earth, and others who draw their power from the earth. I think that's enough of a concept. Next, I want to build 3 to 5 NPCs that they could encounter. Now, NPCs should also serve as adventure hooks. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. So, a few examples that I built into that Earth village. There was a recently divorced religious woman who was an important figure in the church, an honest, pure-hearted older woman who needed money to pay ransom for her kidnapped nephew. There was her ex-husband, a freewheeling merchant of great wealth, who in the divorce took all the money and then left town. Corrupt guards. Now, you'll need some names, but you don't need to flesh them out too much. In this case, I had the guards be thoroughly corrupt, always looking for bribes, always willing to break the rules or enforce the rules arbitrarily if you didn't have the money to pay them off. I also created a patron saint for the town, who happened to be a stone giant earth mage who had contracted a terminal disease that destroyed his heart. Again, that's another hook there. That's something that the players might be able to solve. There's also a gnomish trader who runs a knick-knack shop. He might have interesting items for sale, he might be a source of information, or just witty banter. Notice that many of these NPCs may not be encountered at all, but you can keep recycling them every time they come back to this town, and just like you did with the locations. Also, you don't need to build out details of these NPCs. All you need to do is think about the concept, assign them a few characteristics, and let the questionings of the PCs and let the game flow take you to a more fleshed out character when they are encountered. The third aspect of what you need to build for a detailed locale are institutions, which can also serve as adventure hooks. So in this town, I built a church, a military, and a civilian government. The church is very important. Everyone attends. There's a communion ceremony every week where everyone gets in touch with the earth and reinforce their wall and build camaraderie. There's a military, again, that's mostly corrupt, as we talked about before, unable to protect travelers and miners from trolls that rampage outside the city walls. Again, another problem that the PCs might be able to solve. Then there was a civilian government whose mayor had been recently deposed because he'd been charged with corruption, and now there's a power vacuum, and a number of those NPCs we talked about earlier might be interested in getting involved in that. And that again is another adventure hook if the PCs decide they want to have an in-town adventure, a sort of more political-oriented adventure. The first time PCs enter a town, these adventure hooks need to be available, but the adventures do not have to be specifically designed or prepared. Wait for the PCs to explore the town and to make a decision amongst the various hooks and at the end of that day's session, ask them what they want to do. For the next session, prepare the specifics of, for example, the kidnapped nephew, the diseased saint, the rampaging trolls, the political situation, whatever the players decide to address first. Just like with the locations, unused hooks can be recycled over and over. However, some need to have time limits, and I'll leave that to your discretion. In this case, they didn't handle the political situation in time, and an unfavorable leader took charge. So the key here, when PCs enter town, allow them to explore, encounter these NPCs, encounter these institutions, encounter these adventure hooks. At the end of that session, ask them where they're going. Prepare that for the next adventure. Prepare the kidnapped rescuing for the next adventure. Then when the players come back to town at the end of that session, end the session and ask them again, what are you doing next? If they want to move to a different place, go back to part 2. Choose from the list. If they want to solve another problem in this town, prepare that adventure for the next session. It's that simple. One step at a time, and you can build an enormous world full of rich history and NPCs and characters, but allow the NPCs to guide the action. Don't think about all the details of these things before they get there. Think about a general overarching concept, and then at the end of the session, ask your PCs, where are you going next? Only with that information can you be adequately prepared for the next time. Hope this video helped you. I look forward to hearing from you in the comments. I want to hear feedback. This is my way of doing it, but I want to hear yours. Please visit us at oppressedbysun.com, where you can find maps, NPC backstory, PC backstory, world building, all about the world that I've built. And listen to our podcast, which is just me and my friends having our home game, having fun, having laughs, and enjoying this Sandbox world. So if you have any comments, leave them below. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you very much.